I left Car and Driver in 2008 to go to Popular Mechanics. And then it was like a year or two after that that Hearst bought Car and Driver. And then with that, I got assigned to go back and drive the cars again for Lightning Lap. That was a 1 year only thing. I want to say that was 2010. I started it and organized it, but I wasn't there for that many of them. And it actually wasn't even my idea. You know whose idea it was? Warren Mosler. Do you know Warren Mosler? Super interesting guy. He started this car company called Consulier that made these visually challenged sports cars that use Chrysler 2.2 turbo motors. And he had this thing in the 80s where he said, I think he'd pay $50,000 to anybody who could have another production car that could beat the Consulier around a racetrack. Because I think it was something along those lines, because unlike a lot of kit car makers, he was actually going through the process of passing all the crash tests, the emissions tests that regular car manufacturers had. So he was going to be a legit manufacturer, not just a kit car builder. And that's what that Consulier was. And Car and Driver at the time was testing him, and I think they went and they took a Consulier to a track, and they tried to do this test. And I can't remember the car. I think it was a Corvette ZR1 that beat it. And of course, Warren was upset because, well, that Consulier he had was junk and it wasn't ready. And I don't remember all the back and forth, but there was some animosity there. Mosler was coming out with a new car called the MT900, a much nicer looking thing with an LS powertrain. And I was down in Florida and I had dinner with him. Warren is a terrific guy and really interesting. And that was when he said, what we need is a version of the Nürburgring in the U.S. so we can just document lap times and we could do it easily. And I thought, man, that is a great idea. And I looked around and, VAR was still, they had revitalized it. It had been dormant forever. And they were just opening up this new infield section called the Grand Course, so you could stitch together a nearly 5-mile track. So I went down there and said, hey, I want to do this thing, to sort of establish our version of the Nürburgring where the lap times make sense. Will you guys be down for it? And they're like, sure. Come on down. So I think they did the first one was 07, and it's really, really hard to do right because the conditions are different or the tires right. And when you're driving these things, it sounds like super fun, but you have like 3 laps to get a time in. And you kind of know like when you have a good lap or not. But then you think about it, you're jumping from one car to the next, front wheel drive, 200 horsepower to rear wheel drive. And then what also happens is the manufacturers show up and they're standing there watching you. They want to make sure it's legit. So it's this whole kind of pressure cooker. But the whole idea of it, I just loved because, the old standby 0 to 60 just wasn't really working anymore. You wanted to know how all the performance attributes of a car combined to one number. And really lap time's it. And obviously you see today, right, the Nürburgring times, right? The GTD did a 6:52. I know off the top of my head. And what was the ZR1 did 6:49 or something. That was the latest thing we were all talking about. So it was a big thing. So that's how that whole thing started. The thing that sticks in my mind was a couple laps I did with a Mosler, funny enough. It was an MT900. It was basically it was like a race car. And I don't think they had passed all their tests yet, but they were going to pass the test. And I think maybe in hindsight, maybe we called it a prototype or something like that, but just ungodly fast. And this is when I started to realize, there's this section of VIR called the climbing S's. It goes uphill, and there's a left, a right, a left, right, and then a right. I want to say you're at 5th gear. The data says you go into the first one at about 130 miles an hour in a fast car, and the curbs are big, and you want to hit them. That was the time I started recognizing the cars were getting so fast that just doing this sort of testing with a seatbelt and a helmet, I started to feel uneasy about it. Now, if you go to any proving grounds where, let's say, GM is at Milford and they have this crazy track they call the Lutz Ring, and all the cars that they do their time lapse, they all have cages in them. And we didn't have that luxury, right? But that was the idea, it wasn't safe. So, but at the same time, you're there, you sunk 60 grand into this thing, you got to get the story and you got to get the lap time. And what's made it even worse for this car is there was something, I think it was a wheel weight fell off or something, there was a vibration in it. But at the same time, you also feel this obligation to do right by all the people who have designed and developed this car. So when I talked about that pressure cooker, it is fun, but you feel like it. And I remember I was in this MT900, it was a white one, and it was a sweet car to drive. I mean, it was just really controllable, and you could get in a corner, you could feel what it was doing, and you could catch the slides, you could just be right on the edge. So it made you feel really confident, but now it's vibrating like crazy, and it's getting worse with speed. And so I'm going up to those climbing S's, and maybe I went in a fifth, and it was like 100. I could see like on the readout, like 135 miles an hour. And this is when you're like, this is the real like gut check moment, because the car can go in there without lifting the gas. And if you lift the gas, you lose time, and you've got 1 or 2 laps before the tires are gone, and then you got to get to the other cars, so you got to do it. And I remember I breathed it. I don't know. I think I still got it. It was the fastest lap time. And that was it. And that was the last one I did. You know, by that time I had 2 kids. I mean, all those things that they say, every kid knocks off 2 tenths, 1,000% true.
If you get a ticket, the first thing you should do is text a picture of it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. You'll be facing costly fines, risks of suspension, possible jail time, points on your license, higher insurance premiums, and a lot of bad things that they can help you to avoid. You can also find them at the link in the description below, but the Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm with brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they've got attorneys everywhere, and that's what's most important, because a local attorney will know exactly how the local laws work, know the people who are in charge, and get you the best outcome possible. So text a picture of your ticket to 305-305 or click the link in the description below to fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.